I'm ChosenArchitect, and this is All The Mons. Today, things are going to get a little bit hot, you could say. And that's because I have big plans for this episode, including going to the Nether and getting a mob farm set up. And not just any mob farm, the only mob farm you'll ever need. Before we do all of that, let's start with unlimited lava. Yes, from our actual Cobblemon. We can generate an unlimited amount of lava by utilizing the Cobble Workers mod that is inside the pack. And we can do this by, well, sending out a Firemon and having a cauldron nearby. So we can place this cauldron right here, for example. And eventually, Ponyta should be able to recognize if there's a cauldron within range and should fill it up with lava. I mean, the cool part about this is that once it does eventually get filled up with lava, we can send it directly into a tank. And there we go. After a short time, just to show you that it is working, it's filled up. So how do we actually get the lava out of the cauldron? Well, there's a lot of mods that will allow us to do this, but none are as easy to craft as a fluid hopper. For example, if you wanted to use the fluid pipes mod, you would actually need to get all the way up to a diamond tier upgrade before it can actually pull fluids out of a cauldron. And to be able to use mechanism pipes, you would need at least an advanced tier to be able to do that. But a fluid hopper, well, this thing just works. So we can place a tank down here, fluid hopper underneath, and that pulls it immediately into our fluid tank for us. And this is just going to be a passive way for us to just generate lava around the base, as this Ponyta is just simply going to be looking for empty cauldrons to fill up with lava. And I know what you're thinking. Chosen, did you just make a Ponyta toilet? And yes, essentially. Honestly, blame it on the Taco Bell. It probably had too much of it. I think this little lava generator, this thing is going to do wonders for us here early game. Now, speaking of early game, I think we should make the early game move of jumping into the Nether, because I need to locate a fortress. We need to get blaze rods, because that's what gates us from doing a ton of things. I will say getting to the Nether is fairly easy in most of the All The Mons packs, and that's simply because you get diamonds pretty quickly, and the quests are also fairly generous when it comes to giving out rewards. So that made accessing obsidian quite simple as well. But now this is really going to be the moment of truth. Are we going to get a good Nether spawn? Because this one's always super up in the air. That's something that you can never really tell. Like, once you find your starting location, you don't know what your Nether spawn location is going to look like. Sometimes you can get really lucky, and it just so happens that where you based actually puts you in a fortress, or you could be miles away from a fortress. Either way, good spawn or bad spawn, we are going to make our way through the Nether with ease. Or at least so I hope. Something that will make this process a whole lot easier for us is our tablet that's in our hand. And that's because this tablet works cross-dimensionally, in case you didn't know. It's great. Speaking of great, you know what? This could have been worse. This could have been worse. This biome is not the greatest one to actually spawn in, but it could have been way worse than this. We are pretty high up as well. 110. You know what? Yeah, this is a pretty poor spawn. But I guess one upside, at least it's rather safe from ghasts. And yes, ghasts do spawn still. Now, on my to-do list, I need to get access to ender pearls, which means warped forest. And we also need to find ourselves a fortress. And I hope that our map is going to help us with that. Speaking of maps, by the way, we do have a couple of maps. We have our journey map, which is by hitting J, which gives you a pretty decent overview of the world. And you can actually adjust the scale to kind of see a bit more. But I think a better map is the FTB maps. It just looks so much better in the Nether. And so hopefully this one will provide us with a much nicer view to potentially find fortresses. Oh, and did you catch it? I've already spotted a fortress. Yep, there is one right down here, it looks like. Now, I really do want to get over here to the warped forest, and I'm hoping that this umbrella will reach that far. Like, if I jump down... Is this going to be very risky? I think it is going to be risky, but I think it might be worth the risk. There's no way I want to go building down like that. So we're going to Mary Poppins our way down. Oh, and it lasts quite a while. Wow, the umbrella, honestly, pretty darn good. Very good, actually. And if I can land on the top of here, that'll hopefully save me. Now, like I said, the warped forest is going to be incredibly important. This is going to get us access to pretty easy ender pearls getting started. Because remember, the main goal for today, hopefully, is to get a mob farm up and running. And to get a mob farm up and running, we are going to need eyes of ender, at least 2 of them, to be able to get started. And it would be really easy just to have just dire things. Then we only really need 1 eye of ender, I believe. And these creepy fellas over here, these guys are what's going to give us those eyes. Now, an incredibly simple farm for this. Build up 2 high and just look these guys in the eyes. They have 50 health though. So, whew, I'm glad I made I'm glad I made the diamond sword. Oh my goodness. Also, I noticed their body model is horrifying. Their legs are being lifted up off the ground by their arms. I don't think I've ever paid attention to that before, but there we go. That's what we need. The warped pearl, and you can convert these back into regular ender pearls just like this. This is going to be a first good location for our waystone, and we'll call this one warp. But now it'd be a good idea to start making my way to that fortress. I mean, I might as well scan some mons too while I'm here. Oh, and there's the gas that I mentioned earlier. Okay. All right. Back at you. Oh, it dodged. I'll get it though. Perfect. First try. Oh, but here we go. There's the fortress. We just got to make our way up into it. And man, around the fortress, there is some mega mons over here. Whoa. I mean, just look. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. Yep, still fairly dangerous. But here we are into the fortress. A terrible fortress at that. Ah, beautiful. Now I have 1 final waystone that I want to place in front of a blaze spawner if we can potentially find a good one. Oh, and I also brought a shield, which I thought was going to be very nice for this. We might also find some other good loot here. All right, malicious armor, sturdy bee cages, very interesting. And smithing templates and a Drigme token, sure. There we go. A little bit of wart. Any other goodies? Let's see. Ooh, a molten core is not a bad drop. Just a lot. And a Wixie token, very nice to find. Now, as far as blaze spawners go, I'm not getting super lucky unless it is incredibly lucky and the blaze spawner happens to be back underneath. That would be, oh, this is perfect. Oh, and it's even got a roof. Okay, this is more perfect than I thought it was going to be. And I think the perfect place for this is going to be here. Call it Blaze. And now we have access to a Blaze spawner, allowing us to get ourselves some early Blaze rods. So good. I think after gathering myself a few Blaze rods, I think that is going to be good for right now, allowing me to just simply head back home. And granting us access to anything that utilizes the Nether resources. In that time, by the way, we have 21 buckets of lava that our Ponyta has gathered for us. Now that I'm back, getting some wart inside of a botany pot with some soul sand as the base should get this nice and running. What's wild is that 1 trip is about to make us incredibly powerful, as getting Blaze Rod and also Nether wart unlocks the Blaze Bloom goo. And this is where things get absolutely ridiculous. So right here, I have my primal goo. We can actually skip that and go straight to the next level. Oh, this is so nice. So we'll break down our blaze rods. There are more efficient ways of doing it, but I'm not super worried about that. I just want to get the Blaze Bloom goo, which also utilizes Nether wart as a food. So we're going to need a little bit more gold so we can use a hammer from all the ores, and we can break down our raw gold into double its value just by using some durability off of that. And then just toss it in here to get smelted up. While I'm at it, I should also upgrade all of these furnaces into at least iron furnaces. And I bet our quests are going to give us some upgrades too. Yes. That'll actually make this one a little bit nicer. I believe we can upgrade this one straight to an iron too, which gives us a lot more configuration here. But something you do want to set, you want to make sure that in this particular setup, the right is set to input fuel, the top is set to input, and then set the bottom as an output. And you can choose whether or not you want to toggle on auto input or output, but we already have the upgrades in the machine, so really no need for it. I need just about 6 blocks or so of gold. We need 1 for each face of the actual goo block. We're going to place this on the outside, like so. And before I finish out the center, I'm going to hit this, and then place this here, and take a look. And it is so nice to see Iris basically supporting these textures changes. It's so nice to be able to see this with shaders on. It's so good. By the way, this is something that looks like it was shipped default with the mod pack, with the Iris shaders config with the allow unknown shaders set to true inside of the Iris properties file, which is something that I recently found out. So either way, it was going to be fixed. But I absolutely love this. This transition is so good, and I hate when shaders ruin things like this. But look at that. It's working now. Once it becomes fully engulfed, it's going to transform. Any moment now. Any moment now. There we go. And once transformed, we get some really powerful materials. Blaze gold ore. Oh, and by the way, you should get anywhere between 3 to 4, and fortune does not actually affect this. It should always be a guaranteed 3. This is a very useful number to know, by the way, especially if you set up automation for it down the road. But I just simply need to smelt it all. Also, while I'm at it, I need to get this done for iron blocks, and it's going to be the exact same process, like so. This will grant us fairy core. So first thing this is going to allow us to make is an XP holder, and already I want to get rid of these 84 levels that I currently have that I've gathered from accepting quests inside of the quest book. And to do that, I can just simply hit the plus button, and if you hold down Control and Shift at the same time, it will send all in, and then anytime we need levels, we can simply pull them out, hold down Shift to pull 10 at a time, Control and Shift to pull all or send all, and just one level at a time if you just click it normally. And yeah, you can pick this up and it's going to keep all of those levels stored for you. And this is a relief, so now I can stop sweating in case I die, because losing that many levels is a massive loss. But outside of that helping us today, the Blaze Jet Wand is incredibly powerful and such a fantastic tool, because it not only can launch you where you're looking, but while you're holding it, it prevents fall damage, like entire fall damage. Even if you don't actually use the tool to launch yourself, just so long as you switch to the tool and land, you don't take fall damage. Oh yeah, and remember that lava that we're generating? Well, this thing consumes lava to be repaired. So while you're on a journey, you can set this to bucket mode on, and while we're dashing around, covering so much land, anytime we need to repair this, we can just plop down, place the lava in a hole while we're in bucket mode, and then just toss the item in. And that will repair it all the way back up for you. It's so good. And it also will create an obsidian block where it's at. But like, this is such a good tool for getting around and has completely changed our movement. And this is barely touching any of the powerful items that this mod adds. Just Dire Things is such a good mod, and I tell you, completely revolutionizes early game. But I will say, there is one thing that will revolutionize early game more than it, and that is a mob farm. Now, what's going to make this mob farm absolutely ridiculous is the fact that cave creepers exist in this pack. And we should be able to get cave creepers to spawn down inside of a cave. And the way that you know you're in a cave is if you have your mini-map open and you have the biome selected, you can see the biomes. And down here, I've hollowed out a room because inside of this room is a cave / andesite cave, which cave creepers should spawn in, and more frequently. And so if you're going to build a mob farm, I do recommend building it underground, hopefully inside of a cave biome. The reason why we want to do this is going to become very clear very, very soon. But first, let's go ahead and make ourselves a market. And I'm going to place the little market outside to give us a nice little market area. Look at this little guy. It's going to pop up. Now, the reason we need the market is because this is what's going to allow us to buy certain passive mobs that we wouldn't be able to get a hold of otherwise. One of the mobs we need is a chicken, because we need to combine XP fluid inside of our crafting grid. And this XP fluid should allow us to make something called GM Chicken Feed Cursed. Yes, this is some pretty important stuff. And we're also going to need, like I said, a diamond. This is how we're going to buy, I believe, our chicken. I think it does cost a singular diamond. So we'll search chicken. And this is a way to get yourself a chicken. just like that in the world. And then we just need to click and make that chicken disappear by turning it into a rotten egg with that GM chicken feed. Now, I don't know if you had time to read that tooltip, but it does say a 5x5 area of dreadful dirt is what is going to be created, used on grass, dirt, mycelium, or farmland. Interestingly enough, though, I'm only going to be making this a 3x3. But I do want to be clear, before we place this down, there are several other steps that we need to do before actually turning our dirt. First is a method of collecting resources, so we can utilize an item collector for that. We also need some way to collect XP, so the experience holder will do. And we're also going to need a way to push mobs, so 3 fans should do. And we also need a way to kill said mobs, and that's going to be with the mob masher. And then also, we can tweak the cursed dirt a little bit by pulsing it with redstone to make mobs spawn faster. And to do that, I want to utilize a very special block that's near and dear to my heart, and that is the cog block from supplementaries, which kind of acts as like a redstone pipe. Then I'm also going to want something that can, well, pulse redstone signals, and I don't think anything's as good as Create is at doing that. And so I do want to get a clock from Create, which means we need a little bit of brass. So long as we make some dust here, we can easily combine some things together without going through any hassle of Create to get said brass. Look at that. And to make brass sheets, we can be a little bit wasteful, and we can use 2 to make a single brass piece using the hammer too. And with that little bit of work, we have ourselves a beautiful pulse timer. There are several redstone options though. You could also use a redstone clock. However, the timer from Create is actually faster than this redstone clock can be. But I mean, there's also the timer from RF Tools Utility, which is pretty cool too. Now, first thing we need to do when building out this farm, I went ahead and replaced all of the stone variants just in case Enderman or anything like that tries to pick blocks up. They shouldn't if your claim is protected, but just in case, I did like to change that. I do want to place in a light source though first. So we're going to place this in and just run redstone all the way up to this block, and that'll allow us to toggle this mob farm on and off by using a lamp up top, which is very, very important for this, by the way. Now, the idea here is to have a mob crusher that is on this particular block, and we'll have our fans blow the mobs into it. Now, this back fan is going to need to be like increased in width, and that's what we will use 2 width upgrades, and that should cover the entirety of the mob farm. Now, let's talk about accelerating that dirt, because this is also incredibly important. So what we're going to do is clear out the area that is underneath the dirt, that would typically be underneath the dirt, and this is going to be filled in with cog blocks, which is going to be pulsed by a redstone timer that is just going to go right here. Look at that. And see, at the moment, this is just pulsing this, but we can drag this all the way to 2 ticks, and that generates an incredibly fast tick on these cog blocks. And this is going to be very important because this is what's going to make this 3x3 worth it. Otherwise, this size farm would be a pretty slow farm. But with this, yeah, you're going to find out this is incredibly fast. So we'll go ahead, we'll take this, fill this with dirt, and honestly, at this point, we can go ahead and convert this into dreadful dirt. So long as this light is on, no mob should spawn. But you know what? Before we even decide to turn this on and start having mobs drop things, we need to make sure we have a way to pick them up. So I'm going to use a sophisticated storage chest to be able to do that. And how? Well, with that item collector. We can place this on top, go inside, and start to configure this a little bit. So I'm going to move this around. Let's see, move it all the way here and then down. We can keep going down. And then we're going to send this back. Whichever one does that, looks like this does, until it's directly in the center here. And that's when we're going to increase the value. I think we need to go to 2. And then I also like to go 1 up on the Y value, just in case items get caught directly on top of the mob masher. This will allow it to pick it up. Now, if you are playing on a server, I do recommend leaving it at 20, or you can leave it at 10. But if you're on a single player world, drop this thing all the way down to 1. It really isn't going to matter that much. I mean, I guess it would matter depending on your actual system. Now, this is the only thing we need to worry about, because also XP is something we're going to need to worry about. So I need to head up and go grab my XP obelisk. Now, with the experience holder, basically the exact same area is going to be defined. However, we need to switch this from pulsed to ignored, and then we need to turn collect experience on, and this is going to collect experience in this range. And for this one, I am just going to leave it at 20 ticks. It's not that big a deal either. Having it pick up the XP that's going to be generated, yeah, every 20 ticks or every second, that's a pretty good rate. And then finally, we have our mob masher, which I'm going to use the last 3 cog blocks to be able to power. Now, I'm almost positive this is going to power this dreadful dirt solid, just this single block. So we will lose a little bit of efficiency by having this right here, but at the end of the day, it's nothing I'm ever going to notice. But you can see I can toggle this on and off. And we do have the camel mod in here, which allows us to camouflage these blocks later on down the road. Not worried about it right now, but this is just about ready to start spawning and killing mobs. Very good. Before we do that, another thing I do recommend is just setting some redstone signal around the back of your setup, also giving yourself an extension on the repeating signal. Carry this on. That way we can control the on and offs of our fans. And if all was done right, whenever we flip this lever, we should see all of the fans turn on. And so, moment of truth, turn the mob mesher on, the fans are already on, and turn the light off. And when the lights go off, the mobs should start rushing in. Some things I do want to mention, we are getting cave creepers, we're also getting cave endermen, which is pretty awesome, and also dripstone endermen. Before your ears completely explode, something you can do is stand near your mob farm, click this, create a new anchor, and then we can define the, the removal of death sounds and many other sounds from this area. Now, one other thing to prevent endermen from just randomly teleporting around, we can use the ender inhibitor, and you can toggle this between active and inactive, but this right here should prevent endermen from just randomly teleporting out of the spawner. So with most of the sounds deadened, this farm is just passively running and filling up this chest incredibly fast. And this is why having those shutoffs are very important. Speaking of filling the chest incredibly fast, though, it's also filling it with a lot of odd and end things. For example, we're getting gold armor and we're getting apothecized armor. And I would really love to be able to just break down a lot of this stuff if we can. And it would also be nice to be able to void certain things that we don't want building up inside this farm. For example, like arrows building up in here. We really don't want those. Now, honestly, the easiest way to do this would be to utilize the salvaging table and just sort of salvage everything that builds up in here as we go. So to be able to get a salvaging table, we are going to need gem dust. The way we get gem dust is by tossing gems down and dropping an anvil on them. Once we have ourselves a salvaging table, then we can just use the pipes mod really to send items to this and then loop it back around. Now, before we fully turn this like looping cycle on where it pulls out of the chest and then sends it back into the chest, some things that you should probably do is hit Control T to go into your apotheosis world tier difficulty and try to complete some of the things that it's telling us to do, like equip a common chest piece or a common helmet. Like those things are going to appear in here, and like it's going to appear a lot easier before we turn this on. And so we can put these things on, and now that should have completed our helmet, which it did. Making this even easier on us is going to be the ability for us to upgrade this chest, because it is a sophisticated chest, giving us a ton of storage, like a massive amount of storage. We can go to iron. We should have enough gold to be able to upgrade to at least gold. I do not have enough diamonds just yet, but just going to gold is so much more storage here. And looky there, there's the chest piece that we actually need to complete the world tier. So now we have that equipped. Go back to the world tier. This is done. We can now activate this tier, and new mobs and stuff are going to start spawning from this farm. The reason I know this is because this tier says slay an apothec invader. Something that you might want to do before this noise starts really bothering you is in your global settings, lower the sound of the end portal activating, because the end portal frame activation or fill, I believe, is the sound that the apothec invaders make. It's whatever sound it makes whenever you complete the entire frame. Now let's talk about voiding stuff, because I know I've been mentioning that, but voiding is also going to be very powerful here. I recommend making a void upgrade in advanced version, so that way you can set one to matching tags. Tags are pretty powerful and should be able to get rid of most things that you don't want. However, I don't want to be getting rid of like most gear. So let's go ahead and get our pipe wrench. And now that I've got my apothec level to everywhere except for slaying an invader, that's going to be a pretty good time to set this to send things that it can send into here. And then we'll just have it pull the items and send the raw resources back into our inventory. This also includes anything that is apothic gear. So if it's apothecized, it should be able to return back to us all of this loot, and also in some other goodies, like maybe a little bit of gold and what have you. This is going to be ridiculously helpful when we get into apotheosis down the road. By the way, I set sea drinks, all of these potions. If you toggle this on, works in GUI as well. It allows us to pick them back up and place them in, or drag from our inventory, and that'll also void the things that we have in this void list. With most of this figured out, some useful upgrades that are going to be very helpful to us is going to be mob masher looting upgrades, and also to be able to make the mobs disappear faster, sharpness upgrades. Having these two upgrades alone in this mob farm is going to change how crazy this thing is. This thing is going to run incredibly fast now, instantly killing the mobs and granting us significantly more of the higher tier loot. And this farm alone is passively generating gold, redstone, glowstone, diamonds, all kinds of crazy materials, emeralds, even stone, right? And also another incredibly powerful item in Cobblemon, and that is bones for bone meal. And as if this couldn't get even more powerful, let's go ahead and make a compacting upgrade. And this is going to automatically compress certain blocks. For example, slime blocks, anything that can be uncompressed, this is going to start compressing those things for us. This is where things get absolutely wild. So as soon as I turn the mob farm back on, we're going to see some of those items get compressed up and save so much space for us. With the diamonds that have started to build up from this mob farm, I can actually make a stack upgrade tier 4 also. This is going to be very helpful, and I also leveled up my chest to be diamond tier. So now each one of these slots can hold 1024. The goal would be to get another one of these. Also, there was one of the apothic invaders. The goal would be to get another one of these, and it'll store quite a bit more. Basically taking it from 1,000 per slot to like 16,000. And so there we go. After speaking of another tier upgrade, oh boy, yes, 16,000 in each slot, which will honestly alleviate some of the stress of just having this thing running. Just in time, look who just spawned. Cool part about this is I can just pop the window open here and just take this guy out by hand. And this is going to complete my apothic world tier. It's so good. And voila. Perfect. So now my world tier has increased. And like I said, you want to keep doing this over and over again. Unfortunately, the next tier is going to require us to slay the wither and so on and so forth. So it's going to be a little bit of time, I think, before I probably level up the next time. Now, I'd say the only other weird issue is that we do have random gear from mechanism tools that is showing up. And the way we could get rid of that in the future is by having it go into an armory cabinet. But the armory cabinet is very expensive, requiring a netherite ingot. So not really something that I have access to at the moment. But that will surely change very soon. Oh boy, does it feel good to get out of that hole after a while. There is one more thing that I really want to get done because it's starting to really build up, and that is a way that we can hold all of our TMs and TRs. So now that I have access to a ton of leather from our mob farm, making this stuff is pretty easy. This is going to allow me to clear out my storage, which is just absolutely filled to the brim with all of these unstackable items. But the good thing is we can put them all in here and actually have a search bar for them. I know some of you probably have this question. What's a TM and what's a TR? Well, TRs are usually single use. So if I have a TR in this case, and I teach a mon ability switch, it gets consumed. Whereas a TM should be infinite. I actually don't know if in this mod, if it's actually infinite or if it has uses, but typically in the game, they are unlimited. Now with this mob farm, man, things are going to be a lot nicer, and I don't have to worry so much about certain resources and needing to go gather them. I can spend more time with my mons, which I am pretty excited to do. As my current party, well, we have a long ways to go. Lots of battling to be done, and I look forward to doing that with you guys in the future episodes. So be sure to click that subscribe button if you haven't already, and give this video, guys, a huge thumbs up. And with that being said, it's now time for me to thank the amazing supporter of today's episode. And that amazing thanks is going to go out to Wiz. Thank you so much for your amazing support in choosing to support me over on the Discord by becoming a Discord premium member and just supporting my content in one of the best ways possible. And Guys, I hope that this mob farm comes in handy for you, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. And as always, thanks for watching.